All right, let's dive right into something pretty wild. A theory called God math.
I mean, what if the Bible wasn't just a collection of stories and laws? What if, hidden beneath the surface, there was a mathematical code, like a blueprint built right into the text itself? Well, that's exactly what a YouTuber named Dutch Uncle John believes. He's convinced that this code exists, and he calls it God math. So today, we're going to unpack his whole theory. Let's see what he's found. Okay, so to even begin to understand what Dutch Uncle John is talking about, you need one key. And that key is a system called gematria. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a secret decoder ring for the Bible. You see, in ancient Hebrew, every single letter of the alphabet also doubles as a number. It's not just a sound, it has a numerical value. So what that means is you can take any word, any phrase, even a whole sentence, add up the letter values, and get a total number. So for example, the first letter, Aleph, that's 1. The second letter, Bet, is 2. The third, Gimel, is 3. And you get the picture. It just goes on like that. And this really simple idea is the absolute foundation for all the patterns that Uncle John says he's uncovered. Now, according to Dutch Uncle John, this isn't just some random number game. He argues that this whole system points again and again to a few specific numbers. He basically calls them God's favorite numbers, and he sees them as a kind of divine fingerprint left all over the text. So first up, you've got the number 1. And for Uncle John, this one's pretty simple, right? It stands for divine unity. You know, he points to verses like, "The Lord is one," to show that this isn't just a random choice. It's rooted in the theology itself. Then we have the number 3. Now, Uncle John links this to what he calls a complex unity. It's basically his way of talking about the Trinity, the idea of one God in 3 persons. And he believes this concept is literally encoded into the math of the scriptures. And the last big one is 7. This one, he says, is all about perfect completion. I mean, think about it, the 7 days of creation. It's like whenever you see the number 7 pop up, according to Uncle John, that's a sign of divine perfection. Okay, so that's the theory, but how does it actually play out? Let's take a look. We're going to use what's probably the most famous verse in the entire Bible as our case study, Genesis 1:1. Yeah, in the beginning, we all know how it goes. But if this theory is right, there is a ton more going on in that one sentence than most of us ever realized. Because Dutch Uncle John says that this single verse in the original Hebrew is basically a mathematical masterpiece. And it's all built around that number of perfection we just talked about, the number 7. And some of these patterns are, well, pretty straightforward at first. For instance, in Hebrew, the verse has exactly, you guessed it, 7 words. And if you count up all the letters in those 7 words, you get 28, which of course is a perfect multiple of 7, 4 times 7. But it gets deeper. Uncle John points out that the verse is also perfectly balanced. The first 3 words, they have 14 letters. That's 2 times 7. And the last 4 words, they also have 14 letters. It's like these patterns are layered on top of each other. Okay, but counting letters and words is one thing. According to Uncle John, the really mind-blowing stuff happens when you bring gematria back into it, when you start adding up the values of the letters. And this is really the heart of his case for Genesis 1:1. His analysis shows that if you take just the 3 main nouns in that verse, God, heavens, and earth, and you add up their gematria values, the grand total is 777. Now, this whole theory wouldn't be much if it was just about one verse, right? Well, Dutch Uncle John argues this system is everywhere. It extends way beyond Genesis, all the way into the New Testament, which, remember, was written in a totally different language, Greek. So how does that work? Well, he uses the Greek version of gematria. It's a different name, it's called isopsephy, but it's the same idea. Yep, the principle is identical. Every Greek letter has a number assigned to it, so you can calculate the numerical value of any Greek word, just like you could with Hebrew. And here's his showstopper example from the New Testament. If you take the Greek name for Jesus, Jesus, and you run the numbers using this Greek system, Uncle John says the value comes out to 888. And for him, the number 8 symbolizes a new beginning. So you look at all this, and it brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Is this a genuine divine fingerprints, a hidden code woven into the fabric of the text? Or is this just our own human brains doing what they do best, finding patterns, even where there aren't any? Dutch Uncle John definitely puts forward a fascinating case for incredible order and design. But in the end, whether you see a divine code here or just a string of really amazing coincidences, well, that's a calculation you'll have to make on your own.